Hi, I'm Matt Gallagher and this is a review of the Canon EOS 60D, Canon's 18 million pixel mid-range DSLR, and this is the first EOS model to feature a vari-angle screen. The 60D features an 18 million pixel CMOS APS-C size sensor, and it uses the same Digit 4 processor as in the 50D, though only a single unit as opposed to the dual processors features in the 7D. The continuous shooting allows a burst mode of 5.3 frames a second. This is less than the 6.3 frames a second offered by the 50D, but it does produce much bigger files. The ISO range is a standard 100 to 6400 in standard mode, with an extended 12,800 as a high 1 setting. The metering system is Canon's latest IFCL 63 zone system, which offers a plus or minus 5 stop exposure compensation. The AF system is the same 9-point AF system as we saw in the 50D, but this is a proven system and worked very well last time. In terms of shooting modes, the 60D has the normal array of program and aperture and shutter priority modes, as well as the bulb and custom settings. On top of that, we have the normal green square button, which is the full auto, and we have a range of scene modes as well, on top of the video mode, which we'll come to in a minute. But where this camera gets really interesting is the post-processing modes it now offers. The 60D has a range of creative filters which allows you to put effects onto your pictures after taking the shot. These include things like miniature mode, soft focus and grainy black and white. And there's even the option to do raw processing in camera, so you can turn your raw files into JPEGs and you can even resize them. The optical viewfinder offers 96% coverage, and we've also got the screen on the back for live view, which offers a 1,000,000 dot resolution and has the ability to turn for viewing at different angles. As is to be expected of digital SLRs these days, the 60D does offer HD video, and it does this at the full 1080p resolution, at 30, 25 or 24 frames per second, with a maximum clip length of 12 minutes. The design of this camera has changed quite significantly from the previous 50D, mainly around the top and the back of the camera. If we look on the top here, we've got the shooting dial, which has now got a lock button on there, so that button must actually be pressed in every time you change your shooting mode. This means that you can't accidentally knock the button and change out of the shooting mode into something different. But it does mean if you're working at speed, it can be a little bit fiddly to use. On the right hand side, we've now got single access buttons here, whereas before these were dual access, so these are much quicker to actually use on the top. If we move onto the back, obviously the biggest change is the vari-angle screen, and this does really help composition for live view and for video as well. And we can turn that to almost any angle for either low or high viewing, or even turn it round towards the front for self-portraiture. On the right hand side, we've now got a direct access button for video recording, whereas before we used to have a mini joypad. All of that control has now been taken into the D-pad at the bottom here. This now offers rotation and multi-directional access on the D-pad and a center set button. Though this does bring everything into one and does make access a lot easier if using a vertical grip, it's not going to be suitable for everyone, and I did find it a little bit fiddly to use and not as quick to use as the previous joypad and rotation dial. Images from the 60D are well exposed in almost all conditions. The metering handles well even in extreme lighting with little trouble. In widely contrasting scenes, the camera can lose some highlight detail to maintain a balanced scene. However, the auto lighting optimizer does help. The auto white balance copes with almost all conditions, though appears slightly on the cool side under studio lights. The colours in the JPEGs appear slightly punchier than the old Canon models, and are more like those in the 7D or the 1D Mark IV. Noise levels are well controlled, though above 800 ISO the noise reduction does become quite noticeable. From 3200 ISO, it does start to degrade the detail from the images. And the extended setting of High 1, which is equivalent to 12,800, does show signs of multicolour noise and is best avoided for critical work. The 9-point AF system actually works really well, thanks to the all-cross type sensors and the centre f2.8 sensitivity. In terms of metering, the metering system works really well and only occasionally clips the highlights. The rest of the time does a very good job at maintaining both highlight and shadow detail. The burst mode at 5.3 frames a second isn't breathtaking, but it's still very adequate for what you'd need for this type of camera. The battery life is also fairly decent, with around 1100 shots before needing to recharge the battery, which will give you more than a good day's shooting. At around £1,000 body only, this camera is a good £200 cheaper than the 7D, which will make it very appealing for those looking for a mid-range DSLR. Though the one thing this will be compared against will be Nikon's new D7000 camera, which offers some very competitive features at a very similar price. The 60D offers a great segue between the 550D and the 7D cameras. And though there's lots of new creative features for the more amateur user, there's still plenty there for the more advanced photographer. Overall, the 60D is fast, easy to use and produces some stunning results.